What's the craziest thing a student got away with at school? I was a high school English teacher for 12 years, and I've seen my fair share of senior pranks and classroom hijinks. But nothing compares to what happened with Martin Chen during my 4th year teaching. Martin was brilliant, but restless, the kind of student who finished tests in half the time, and then quietly disturbed everyone else. Not maliciously, just creatively. One day, I caught him reading a thick book hidden inside his textbook. "What's that?" I asked, expecting some fantasy novel. He showed me. It was an electrical engineering manual. "I'm building something," he said with that half smile that always made me nervous. The next week, our principal, Dr. Harmon, announced that someone had hacked into the school's ancient PA system. Random music would play between classes, never during, which was suspiciously considerate. First, it was classical music, then TV theme songs. Students would burst into spontaneous applause when the Friends theme hit at exactly 11:47 each day. Dr. Harmon was furious. "When I find who's responsible, they'll be suspended immediately." His threats echoed through those same speakers, which only made the students laugh harder. I had my suspicions about Martin, but no proof. Then one morning, I arrived early and found him in the ceiling of the main hallway, balanced on the metal framework, installing something. "Martin!" I whispered, shouted, heart racing. "Get down before someone sees you." He looked down calmly. "Just 5 more minutes, Miss Reynolds. Now, Martin." He sighed dramatically, but complied, slipping down with surprising agility. In his hand was a small black device. "What is that?" I demanded. "It's just a relay node, completely harmless." He must have seen my confusion, because he added, "It connects to the PA system wirelessly. I've installed aid around the school." I should have marched him straight to the principal's office. Instead, I asked why. "Because I can," he said, then paused. "And because this place is so beige. Everyone's walking around half asleep. But you should see their faces when music plays. They wake up." I knew I should report him, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the genuine passion in his voice. Or maybe I secretly enjoyed the daily musical interludes too. "If I pretend I didn't see this, will you promise to end it before graduation?" He nodded solemnly. The music continued, but evolved. Martin programmed it to play appropriate songs based on school events. "We are the champions after football wins. Don't stop believing." Before exams, the administration tried everything to find the culprit, even bringing in IT specialists who concluded the system had been modified with surprisingly sophisticated equipment. On the last day of school, instead of music, Martin's voice came through the speakers. "Fellow students and respected faculty, this is the music maestro signing off. For those wondering, no, it wasn't ghosts. Just a kid with too much time and access to Radio Shack. Special thanks to the one teacher who knew but let the music play." This school isn't beige to me anymore. I froze, certain everyone would look at me, but no one did. After graduation, I found a small package in my desk drawer. Inside was one of his relay nodes, with a note for when things get too quiet. Instructions included. 10 years later, I'm now a principal at a different school. I've never used Martin's device, but I keep it in my desk drawer. Martin now designs security systems for major corporations. I was a high school English teacher for 12 years. And if you asked me about the craziest thing a student ever got away with, I wouldn't even have to think. Hands down, it was Martin Chen in my 4th year of teaching. Martin wasn't the kind of troublemaker you'd expect. He wasn't loud, he didn't start fights, and he didn't skip class. If anything, he was too smart for the pace of school. He would finish his tests in half the time, and then sit back, eyes darting around the room like he was plotting something. He wasn't malicious, just restless. A storm contained inside the body of a quiet, wiry teenager. One afternoon, I noticed him holding a thick book inside his English textbook, and I braced myself for a fantasy novel or a comic book. Instead, when I asked, he turned it around and showed me an electrical engineering manual. "I'm building something," he said with this half smile that made me nervous. It wasn't arrogant. It was the look of someone who knew more than he was supposed to. The following week, our principal, Dr. Harmon, came on the PA system in his usual booming voice. Only this time, his announcement was not about morning pledges or cafeteria menu changes. It was a threat. Someone had hacked into the school's ancient intercom system, and music was blasting between classes. Not during, always between, almost like the phantom DJ was being considerate. First it was Mozart. Then it was TV theme songs. By the third day, the entire student body erupted in cheers when the Friends theme hit exactly at 11:47 every morning. Dr. Harmon was livid. "When I find who's responsible," his voice thundered through the very speakers being hacked, "they will be suspended immediately." Of course, that only made students laugh harder. I had a sinking suspicion about Martin, but no proof. He just sat in class, pretending to underline passages in Romeo and Juliet, while the corner of his mouth twitched like he knew a joke no one else did. Then one morning, I came in earlier than usual. The hallway was still quiet, the kind of silence schools only have before the day begins. That's when I saw movement above me. I tilted my head up and froze. Martin was balanced on the metal framework of the ceiling tiles, tools hanging from his belt, like he'd been born up there. "Martin!" I whispered, panic in my throat. "Get down before someone sees you." He looked down calmly, not even flinching. "Just 5 more minutes, Ms. Reynolds. Now," I hissed. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. He sighed dramatically, like I'd interrupted a great work of art, and slipped down with surprising agility. In his hand, he held a small black device no bigger than a deck of cards. "What is that?" I demanded. "It's just a relay node," he explained. Seeing my confusion, he added, "Completely harmless. It connects wirelessly to the PA system. I've installed 8 around the school." I should have dragged him straight to the principal's office. But instead, I asked the question I didn't even realize was sitting on my tongue. "Why?" His expression softened. "Because I can. And because this place is so beige. Everyone's walking around half asleep. But you should see their faces when the music plays. They wake up. They're alive." I opened my mouth, then closed it. The truth was, he was right. Even I had caught myself smiling when the random tunes played. For the first time in years, students weren't just shuffling like zombies to class. There was laughter in the halls, clapping, even dancing. "If I pretend I didn't see this," I said carefully, "will you promise to end it before graduation?" He nodded, solemn for once. But Martin didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, the music evolved. After football victories, "We Are the Champions" echoed down the halls. Before midterms, it was "Don't Stop Believin'." During fire drills, he somehow queued up "Burning Down the House." Students were in awe. Teachers pretended to be angry, but half of us were secretly entertained. The administration, though, was determined to catch him. They brought in IT specialists, combed through the wiring closet, even installed cameras in the hallways. The specialists finally admitted the system had been modified with surprisingly sophisticated equipment. But they couldn't find the culprit. The legend of the music maestro spread across the school. Some swore it was a team of students. Others joked it was a ghost. Meanwhile, Martin kept acing tests with one hand while orchestrating his secret symphony with the other. Then came the last day of school. Everyone expected a final performance, maybe one last song. Instead, as the last bell rang, the speakers crackled and Martin's voice filled every hallway. Fellow students and respected faculty, this is the music maestro signing off. For those wondering, no, it wasn't ghosts. Just a kid with too much time and access to Radio Shack. Special thanks to the one teacher who knew but let the music play. This school isn't beige to me anymore. I froze, certain every head would whip toward me, but no one did. The students roared with applause. The staff looked around helplessly. And Martin? He strolled across the stage at graduation that afternoon with the most innocent smile I'd ever seen. A week later, I found a small package in my desk drawer. Inside was one of his relay nodes, neatly labeled with instructions. A note was taped to it, for when things get too quiet. 10 years later, I'm now a principal at a different school. I've never used Martin's device, but I keep it in my desk drawer. Sometimes, when the days get long and the halls feel gray, I think about turning it on. Martin Chen. He now designs security systems for major corporations. I still get Christmas cards from him. Every one of them signed the same way. The music maestro's story. My fiancé's father said, "Sign this contract for her student loans or the wedding's off." I said, "I understand." Then I took the ring back and bought a house instead. 3 months later, the loan collectors were calling him as the co-signer. I, 29, male, was supposed to marry Jenna, 27, this past June. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for 1. Everything seemed perfect until her dad pulled his power move at what was supposed to be a casual dinner. 3 months before the wedding. Gordon, her father, always gave me weird vibes. Real estate broker drove a leased BMW he couldn't afford. Constantly talked about building generational wealth while being behind on his own mortgage. But Jenna adored him, so I kept my mouth shut. That Tuesday night, after we'd finished eating, Gordon pulled out this folder, like an actual manila folder with typed documents inside. Slid it across the table like we were in some corporate merger. Before you join this family officially, we need to discuss Jenna's education investment. I looked at Jenna. She was staring at her plate. The investment was $127,000 in student loans for her master's in creative writing from a private university. The one Gordon insisted she attend because prestige matters more than price. I need you to sign as co-borrower on the refinancing, he said. Better rates with dual income. I flipped through the papers. The loan terms were insane. Variable rate starting at 8.9% 20-year term. Gordon, this would make me equally responsible for supporting your wife's dreams. Yes. He leaned back, this smug look on his face. Unless you don't believe in her potential. Jenna finally spoke up. Dad, we talked about this being voluntary. Sweetheart, a real man doesn't let his woman struggle with debt alone. I set the papers down. I need time to review this with a financial advisor. Gordon's face went red. Financial advisor, this is about trust. You either commit to this family fully, or he let it hang there. Or what? Or maybe you're not ready for marriage. Can't have the wedding if you're not committed to the family burden. I mean, investment. I looked at Jenna. She was crying silently. I understand, I said. Got home that night and couldn't sleep. Jenna kept apologizing, saying she had no idea her dad would do this, that she'd talk to him. But something felt off. She was upset. Yeah, but not shocked, not angry at him. Next morning, I did some digging. Found out through a mutual friend who worked at the university that Jenna had actually graduated with about $63,000 in loans. The rest Gordon had taken out Parab Plus loans and spent them on expenses. His BMW lease, a vacation to Cabo, new golf clubs. Now he wanted to consolidate everything and make me responsible for his spending. I confronted Jenna that evening. She broke down completely. I didn't know how to tell you. He said he was helping with living expenses, but I found out later he was using it for himself. He promised he'd pay it back, but then his real estate deals fell through. And you knew this whole time. You knew. I was going to tell you after the wedding. I swear after I was legally bound to you. She couldn't deny it. I took the ring back that night. Not dramatically, just asked for it while she was sobbing on the couch. She handed it over without argument. Update 1. The aftermath was intense. Gordon called me 43 times the first day. Left voicemails ranging from, "Let's discuss this like men," to "You're destroying my daughter," to "I'll sue you for emotional damages." My favorite was, "That ring was a promise. You can't just take it back." Actually, I could. I checked. Conditional gift laws in my state are clear. Jenna moved back with her parents, started posting vague quotes on Instagram about knowing your worth and real men step up. Her mom, Diane, commented on every single one with prayers, hands, emojis. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember I mentioned saving for the wedding? We had a budget of $35,000. I'd saved $26,000 of it. Jenna was supposed to contribute the rest, but kept having unexpected expenses. That money was sitting in my savings account untouched. Gordon knew about it. He'd made comments about how wise I was to save so aggressively. 5 days after the breakup, he called from a different number. I answered, "Listen, I may have been harsh. Let's compromise. You take on half the loans, we still have the wedding. I'll even knock $5,000 off the wedding contribution from our side. Your contribution was only $9,000 to begin with." Exactly. So now it's $4,000. That's reasonable. I laughed. Actually laughed. Gordon, there's no wedding. You don't understand what you're doing. Jenna's destroyed. Her anxiety medication costs alone. Not my problem anymore. What about the deposits? The venue? The catering? I'm handling it. He paused. You're going to lose thousands walking away from those deposits. Actually, I'm not. See, I'd been smart about one thing. Every contract for the wedding was in my name only. Jenna had insisted on it because planning stresses me out. You're so much better at this stuff. I'd already called the venue. Turned out another couple had been waitlisted for our date. The venue agreed to transfer everything if I let them keep a small transfer fee. Lost maybe $800 total instead of $8,000. The catering. My buddy from college had just started his restaurant business and was doing it at cost as our wedding gift. He was relieved when I called it off. Turned out he'd been stressing about the dietary restrictions Jenna kept adding. The photographer was my cousin. The flowers were through a family friend. I lost maybe $2,000 total in deposits. Had $24,000 left. You know what I did with it? Put a down payment on a house. A small 2-bedroom fixer, upper in a decent neighborhood. Closed in 30 days thanks to the cash down payment. Update 2. Gordon's getting desperate. Found out through mutual friends that he'd been telling everyone I financially abused Jenna by stealing the wedding funds. Even called my parents to tell them they raised a con artist. My mom's response was legendary. At least my son knows not to spend loan money on a BMW lease. How did she know about that? Because I forwarded her the receipts I'd found. Gordon's Facebook was wide open, posting pictures from Cabo with timestamps matching the loan disbursement dates. Idiot even tagged the resort. But the real comedy started when Jenna began dating again. 2 weeks after we split, she was on dating apps. Her profile said she was looking for a mature man who understands financial partnership in relationships. She matched with Trevor. Investment banker drove a Tesla. Seemed perfect. They dated for 3 weeks before he Googled her and found her father's public Facebook rants about me not taking on her debt. Trevor asked her about it on their 4th date. According to my friend who witnessed this at a restaurant, Jenna tried to explain it as my ex was financially controlling. Trevor, who apparently wasn't an idiot, asked, "So your dad wanted him to co-sign your student loans?" "Well, yes, but how much?" "That's not how much. $127,000. Trevor excused himself to go to the bathroom and never came back. Left her with a $200 dinner check. Gordon called me the next day screaming that I'd ruined Jenna's reputation. How? By not signing loan documents. By making us look like gold diggers if the shoe fits. He hung up. Meanwhile, I'm fixing up my house. Spent weekends pulling up old carpet, painting walls, updating fixtures. Posted a few progress pics on Instagram. Nothing dramatic, just new project homeowner. Jenna saw them. Sent me a long text about how I was rubbing her face in it. And you know, I always wanted a house. Yeah, I knew she wanted a house she didn't have to pay for. Update 3. Remember those loans Gordon wanted me to co-sign on? Funny thing about Parent Plus loans, they're in the parent's name, not the student's. And Gordon, in his infinite wisdom, had been making minimum payments for years while the interest accumulated. Well, 3 months after our breakup, something beautiful happened. See, when I refused to sign the refinancing documents, Gordon had to find another solution. His original plan was to consolidate everything into a private loan with better terms using my credit score and income. Without me, he was stuck. The loans went into default. The first call came while I was at work. Gordon panicked in his voice. "They're garnishing my wages. They can't do this. Who is the loansorer? They're taking 15% of my commissions." I stayed quiet. "This is your fault if you just signed." "Gordon, those are your loans." "Parent Plus loans. Your name, your responsibility." But they were for Jenna. No, $63,000 was for Jenna. The rest was for your BMW and vacations. Silence. How did you? Doesn't matter. What matters is that you tried to con me into paying for your midlife crisis. How's that working out? He started threatening legal action again. I hung up, but it gets better. Diane, Jenna's mom, didn't know about the loan default until they tried to refinance their house to help with the situation. Turns out Gordon had been hiding a lot of financial problems. The default tanked his credit. No refinancing possible. Diane called me crying, begging me to reconsider. He made a mistake. Please, you loved Jenna once. I did. Then I found out she was complicit in fraud. It's not fraud. It's family helping family. It's literally fraud. Using education loans for personal expenses, that's fraud. She hung up on me. Then came the real estate license issue. Turns out having your wages garnished doesn't look great to the real estate board. Gordon's broker got wind of his financial situation, started questioning whether he could be trusted with client escrow accounts. He wasn't fired, but he was put on probationary status, meaning someone else had to oversee all his transactions. His commission split went from 70-30 to 50-50 to account for the extra supervision. Update 4. Jenna reached out last week. Different energy entirely. Can we talk in person? Against my better judgment, I agreed. Met at a coffee shop. She looked rough. Stress, weight loss, bags under her eyes, nails bitten down to nothing. "I'm sorry," she started. "I should have told you about the loans, about Dad using the money." I waited. He's losing it. Mom found out he took out a second mortgage last year without telling her. Used her signature. She's filing for divorce. That's unfortunate. I need to ask you something. She pulled out papers. Would you be willing to write a statement for Mom's lawyer about Dad trying to force you to take the loans? I looked at the papers. Your mom wants me to help her divorce your dad. She needs to prove financial deception. Your situation shows a pattern. The irony was incredible. Jenna, you were part of that deception. I know. I know I was, but I didn't think you didn't think I'd find out until after we were married. She started crying. I loved you. I still do. Dad always said this was how families worked, that you share burdens. No, Jenna, he taught you to pass burdens on to others. I took the papers. I'll think about it. Got home and actually left. They wanted me to help clean up the mess they created. But here's the thing. I actually did write the statement. Not for Jenna or Diane, but because Gordon needed consequences. Detailed everything. The attempted coercion, the threats about calling off the wedding, the revelation about misused loan funds. Diane's lawyer was very interested in the Cabo vacation funded by education loans. Update 5. Gordon's world has officially imploded. The divorce proceedings revealed even more financial crimes. He'd opened credit cards in Deanne's name, took out a car loan for a boat he sold 2 months later. The parent plus loans were just the tip of the iceberg. But the real karma came from an unexpected source, the IRS. See, when you use student loan money for non-education expenses, that's not just fraud, it's potentially taxable income you didn't report. Diane's lawyer, being thorough, reported the whole situation to the IRS. Gordon called me drunk at 2 a.m. last Tuesday. You destroyed my life. No, Gordon, you destroyed your life. I just declined to participate. My daughter won't even talk to me. Can you blame her? She has to move back in with Diane. Can't afford her apartment anymore. Maybe she should get a job that uses that creative writing degree. He went on a rant about respect and family, and how his generation understood commitment. I put him on speaker and made a sandwich. Eventually, he tired himself out. You could have had everything. A beautiful wife, a family, connections in real estate. Gordon, I do have everything. I have a house that's mine, a job with no garnished wages, a credit score in the 800s, parents who aren't getting divorced. What exactly did I miss out on? He hung up. Jenna texted me the next day. Dad's moving back with Grandma. Lost the house in the divorce. I didn't respond. She sent another. I got a job at Barnes & Noble. Good for her. Another. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of this. That one I responded to. You're right. I didn't. Final update. Closed on selling my house yesterday. Made a $38,000 profit after just 6 months of fixes and market appreciation. Already under contract for a better place in a better neighborhood. Gordon's living with his mother, working part-time at a different real estate firm. His wages are still being garnished. The IRS hit him with $34,000 in back taxes and penalties. He's 58 years old and basically starting over. Diane got the house in the divorce, but had to sell it to pay off the secret debts Gordon accumulated. She's renting a 1-bedroom apartment now, working as a receptionist. Jenna's still at Barnes & Noble dating some guy named Keith, who apparently also has massive student loans. Guess she found her financial partnership. My cousin, who was going to photograph our wedding, shot a proposal last week. The guy signing the check mentioned he'd heard about that situation with the loans through mutual friends. Said it made him and his fiancée have a serious talk about financial transparency before marriage. They actually went to a financial counselor together. You probably saved that couple years of problems. My cousin told me maybe last week got a LinkedIn notification. Gordon viewed my profile. That's it. Just viewed it. I updated it the next day with my new promotion to senior project manager. Petty, maybe satisfying? Absolutely. Oh, and remember that ring? Sold it for $8,700. Put it toward the new house down payment. The jeweler asked if there was a story behind it. I said, yeah, dodged a $27,000 bullet. He laughed and said, I should buy a lottery ticket with luck like that. Told him luck had nothing to do with it. Sometimes the best investment you can make is walking away from a bad deal. Even if that deal comes wrapped in a white dress and calls itself love. To anyone facing similar pressure, no is a complete sentence. Your financial future is not a doughy. And anyone who tries to use your love as leverage for their gain doesn't love you. They love what you can do for them. Also, always get everything in writing. Even crazy demands. Especially crazy demands. Gordon, If you're reading this, and I know you are because Jenna said you've been hate stalking my socials, your BMW got repossessed last month. I saw it on the auction website. Went for $11,000 under book value. Guess that generational wealth isn't generating much, is it? Cool.